Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayana. When man follows man, this leads to hopeless end. When man follows man, when humans follow humans, this leads to hopeless end. When man follows God, this leads to the end of hopelessness. When humans follow God, it leads to the end of hopelessness. Man tends to follow man. But if one wants to be more than a human, the wise follow the wise. Right? If I'm a human and I want to be wise, I need to start following the wise. What is the difference between a human and a wise person? A human has information. They are dependently joyous. They do smile, but as soon as that article, being, circumstance moves, their smile moves also. A wise person is independently joyous. They know the article, being, circumstance is going to move, and they smile in that movement. They know if it can asakti, it can also jasakti. If this can come, this not can go, this will go. If there's a reason to be happy, there will be a reason to be unhappy also. They're built in together. The wise we are trying to follow is Sri Kabir, the great Lord. Sri Kabir is known as a dictator of language. Every word he spoke would strike people, their hearts, their heads. And in his freedom, he would teach freedom, he would teach oneness. There were some fanatical people in his community, some fanatical Muslims, who tried to kill him because his teachings are of oneness. He was free, nothing to gain, nothing to lose. He had the jnana, the experience that Bhagwan is supporting him. I had shared he had darshan of Hanumanji, Bhagwan Rama. Sri Kabir is the most relatable guide. He spoke in many languages: Punjabi, Rajasthani, Urdu. So many dialects of these languages also. He was about the people. And it's fascinating that 600 years later, that hasn't changed. Here we are, studying Sri Kabir's teaching in English. Sri Kabir has been so influential that some of these sakis, in fact 250 of these sakis, are contained within the Guru Granth Sahib. That scripture that you see at the Suvarna Mandir, that is being waved at as the Guru, Sri Kabir's teachings are within that Grantha. The impact, the game changer that he is for all of us. What would the wise do? We began approaching this subject with listen. Listen to life. Listen to how your life has been the last 20 years, the last 50 years. Listen to your heart. Listen to your head. Listen. And if we listen carefully, we will start to want to learn that I can be more. I'm dependently joyous. I want to be independently joyous. Then I start to learn from a Sadguru. The Sadguru graced to me by Bhagwan because I want to change. And as I learn, this learning is directed towards love. What is the most important learning? Love. And this love is first to love ourselves. The training required to love ourselves. We instinctively think that we love ourselves, fine, but are we trained to love ourselves well? There is a difference, correct? There's a difference between parenting and spiritual parenting. Parenting is raising a child with confusion and fear and sadness, but spiritual parenting is raising a family with confidence and courage and contentment. Yes? So are your parents spiritual parents or just parents? This training took form in the first Saki that we studied last night. That for our lives we have a vision statement, we have a mission statement, we have an action statement, and our vision statement is Sanatana Dharma. The unchanging responsibility to be independently joyous. We should unitask towards this. What other statements are there other than to be independently joyous? And if I am independently joyous, all other tasks are accomplished. What would the wise do? Unitask. And one who unitasks is never bored. There's such worth in what they're doing, they're never bored. But if I'm multitasking, I'm not going deep enough into that experience that I stay at the surface, I always feel bored, tired. Those are fad words now, right? Being bored is cool. Being tired means you work hard. Incorrect. Being tired means you're not working hard enough. The next Saki we studied, when I make this the vision of how I live, that I'm learning to love myself by focusing on happiness, I start to depend more on myself and less on others. I start to water my grass rather than your grass. I learn to be independent. And this has come because I'm experiencing the sadhya. I'm experiencing joy coming from myself. And the more you experience joy coming from yourself, the more you experience joy coming from yourself. Once I know that I am the nature of happiness, why would I have an expectation from you? And the practice here, what would the wise do? They would enjoy their own company. Enjoy their own company. In this retreat and many of our retreats, we encourage people to practice mauna. Now, what are you supposed to do in mauna? Today we are practicing mauna by listening to loud music. The highest practice of mauna, of enjoying your own company, is to just be. Highest practice. If that's too high, lower than that is to observe. Observe all that is happening outside and inside. Sakshi. If that's too high, we come down to ask. Ask yourself the questions that you never ask yourself. We ask ourselves what clothes we're going to wear tomorrow, what route we're going to take to a meeting, who's coming to this party. But do you ask yourself if you're happy? Do you ask yourself what the purpose of life is, who your friends are? Ask. If that's too subtle, you come down more to chant. In mauna, chant. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. If I don't know Sanskrit, life, life, life. And if that's too subtle, you come down to experience. When you're eating raspberries, taste those raspberries. When you're walking, feel the breeze. This is all training to enjoy our own company. The next Saki we studied, so I've made the vision of my life to be happy. I'm experiencing some of that happiness. And when you experience the best, what is irresistible? Sharing that. If there's a great part of San Jose that you know of, any tourist that comes, you say, you must see this, correct? You can't help yourself from saying that. I know that. I live in Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is the Tirupati of North America. Isn't it? People come again and again and again. Any relative that comes, Niagara Falls. Especially the American side. See, many of the Indians that come don't have a Canadian visa. So that Niagara Falls, New York is like little India. There's dhabas all over the place. The Tirupati of North America. You can't help but share with someone the beauty of Niagara Falls. You can't help but share your happiness with others. And the secret about this, you can only share what you have, correct? And the more you share, the more you have. Virtue development, happiness is not a zero-sum game. In a zero-sum game, if I get promoted, that means you don't. This is not a zero-sum game. If I grow in my happiness, I'm going to carry you too. Bhagwan Rama's greatness, he lifted everyone else up. He rose too. Ravana lowered everyone else. He lowered himself too. And our practice, what would the wise do? They would simplify their lifestyle. Simple living. Simple clothes, simple words, simple thinking. Bhagwan Rama says in Ramayana, a form of bhakti is saralata. Saralata means simplicity, transparency. The word Arjuna means arjavam, the one who's most transparent, the one who's straightforward. What would the wise do? Simplify. And the last Saki we studied was that hum tum is only for conversation. Our bodies are the same. Our minds are definitely the same. We grow from sympathy to empathy then. Sri Kabir was determined to show the people that a Varna doesn't get enlightened, a human gets enlightened. A Varna, it's not because you're a Brahmana you get enlightened. It's not because you're a male that you get enlightened. It's not because you know a language you get enlightened. It is being a human that leads you to enlightenment. He was about total inclusivity. And that will come out more. What would the wise do for the 12th Saki is listen fully. Try to feel that person's mind. And after listening fully, speak fully. Listen to that person's head, speak to that person's heart. Now that I've trained myself to love myself, the expression of this is to do this with my eyes open. That is to learn to love others. And this is a completing part of the framework on what the wise would do. Our next Saki. This is a harsh one. Are you ready for this? Okay, we'll see. Bakari pati khati hai, taki khadi khal. Jo bakari ko khata hai, tine ka kaun haval. You've heard this before. Have you relatively understood this? Okay. Let's chant this slowly so that we're clear about this. Please repeat. Bakari pati khati hai. Taki khadi khal. Jo bakari ko khata hai. Tinaka kaun haval. As I explain this, we are learning how to love others, starting with bakari. Starting with goats, that is stones and plants and animals. Bakari pati khati hai. For the sake of satisfying hunger, a goat moves, right? They graze. We know about animals grazing where there's grass. Taki khadi khal. So the goat moves to satisfy hunger and then eats grass. Deep, no? Jo bakari ko khata hai. And for the one who eats that goat, bakari khata hai, tinaka kaun haval, what would be the fate of that person who's eating that goat? In other words, I'll say this simply and then we'll go deeper into this. An animal lives like an animal. And if I eat an animal, how am I any different? This Saki is used a lot in discussions about vegetarianism, veganism. How do Indians say vegan? Wagon. Vivek, I heard you're wagon. Really? Tell me, what is wagon? I don't know what wagon is either. What does Brahman mean? What does Brahman mean? That's Brahmana. What does Brahman mean? Now you're completely unsure of everything. Brahman means infinity. We've talked about that each day. Okay. Existence in this water bottle, yes or no? Awareness in this water bottle, yes or no? Joy in this water bottle? Okay. In the flowers over there, existence? Awareness? Joy? In the goat or the squirrels in the bushes over there, existence? Awareness? Joy? You and I, hum tum. Existence? Too much existence, correct? Awareness? We claim. And joy? Dependently, yes. Big yes. See, some of you said there's existence here but no awareness, which is the same as stating that infinity is not here. That there's no joy in that flower. That's again denying infinity. All is of the nature of existence, awareness, joy. However, not all can express that. Not all can reflect that. Simple example, going back to this water bottle. This light is shining equally on my palm and water bottle, correct? But my palm can't reflect light. You don't see kids taking light and shining it on people's eyes. But they use their phone or their keys or this water bottle and bother other kids, correct? Because this can reflect light. Stones, animals, plants are the same as us. They just cannot express that divinity. Our son Vyasa knows no language right now. When he's hungry, what does he do? He cries. Just because he can't say, I'm hungry, doesn't mean he's not hungry, isn't it? If if we're the same body and same mind, if I want to live love, that has to apply to stones and plants and animals. And it's easier with stones and plants and animals. Do you have a zoo here in San Jose or San Francisco? When you go to the zoo and they have a tiger there, and suppose they bring this bakari over there, do you judge that tiger? Dumb tiger. Haven't you studied this saki? You should be eating grass like that goat. Do any of you feel that? No, you accept that tiger to be a carnivore. But when it comes to people, suppose your parents eat meat, or your kids eat meat. It shakes you, doesn't it? That acceptance is not there anymore. We'll make this more relative. Sri Kabir is sharing in this saki to live in harmony. Harmony means to live harmlessly. Understand the word harmony to mean harmlessly. To not inflict any harm. You've learned to love yourself. How do you love another person? By not harming them. And the Sanskrit word for that is ahimsa. Ahimsa means sensitivity. A sensitive person relates to another person's body and mind and intellect. It's not that I don't hit this person, but I keep shouting abuses at them. Ahimsa. I didn't hit them. Verbal abuse is almost worse than physical abuse. Isn't it? That sensitivity that all are God's children, if they look differently even. Ganeshji, Hanumanji, Hayagriva, they're all manifestations of the divine. People ask us, why do you worship cows? We worship cows and pigs, and the chalkboard, and the internet, and airplanes, and the sky, and you, and me. It's not cows only. There's no Eva there. There's Api. And if I really love myself, that means I have to love stones and plants and animals. That's why your books, don't kick your books. Don't kick your tires. Don't sit in a park and rip out grass. That's what we do, correct? Just break branches. Be careful of what you eat. Someone had told me, if God is a carrot and God is a cow, what difference does it make? Because that carrot can't reflect as much of that godliness as the cow can, so less harm is incurred by eating that carrot. And the moment we can eat stones, we should shift our diet to eating stones. That would be ideal. We're even more harmlessly then. What would the wise do? Don't use animals. Don't use animals. Animals are not to be used by us. Animals are animals. Let them be animals. If you think carefully, every animal is wild, but we've domesticated them, which really means we've enslaved them. Cows, dogs, and you keep going like that. Now we've genetically modified animals for our convenience. Dogs are wild. Now they're stuck in condominiums. Fish are in the seas. Saat samundar. Now they're in my fish bowl. I like to play with Vyasa jokingly sometimes by just holding him, not letting his hands or legs move. And he fights and fights till he's free. And he can. Those plants and animals can't. Animals specifically. But that doesn't mean they don't feel bound either. Hum tum, we have the same minds. Don't use animals. Sometimes when you go camping, you'll see signs that say, don't feed the bears, correct? But this Saki says I should treat animals the way I treat myself. The moment a human feeds a bear, that bear sees an easier source of food, that bear stops hunting. What do the rangers have to do then? They have to kill that bear. Because that bear's only going to eat what's easy for them, which is human food. When you think harmony, you have to think big, or you have to think deep. Yes? Guruji has shared, why do they have wildlife sanctuaries? It's to keep us from going in there and killing them. Not to keep them in there, it's to keep us from killing them. And we are civilized. A group of us had gone on a Canada yatra a couple of years ago. And it was our last hike. Every day we would hike for like 8 hours. We would sleep in RVs with no electricity and no water. It was fantastic. And on our last hike, I was ahead of everyone, and I'm in my world, and I look over and there's a grizzly bear right there. Grizzly bears are as fast as horses in short distances, and far away, like me in the end of this building. And so I quickly called everyone and said, look, there's a bear in the wild. We are in the bear's home. And then there was one yatri, he's whispering to me. We're all huddled together, 20 of us. Vivekji, can that bear maul one of us? And I looked at him and said, that bear can maul all of us. Aren't you afraid? No, because I'm faster than you. If he's going to maul someone, he's going to catch you before me. Don't use animals. And you know where the next Saki is going to go. You have to tighten that vision to apply to humans. We are more accepting of stones. I don't expect this watch to give me water. It's a stone. It's a watch. Plants, I don't expect a rose bush to give me Alfonso mangoes. I told you an example about animals, but when it comes to people, we just lose all logic. Next Saki. Swarata ka sab koi saga, sara hi jagajana, bina swarata adara kare, so nara chatura sujana. Repeat. Swarata ka sab koi saga, sara hi jagajana, vina swarata adara kare, so nara chatura sujana. Has anyone heard this Saki before? Okay. Swarata ka saba koi saga. People are friendly for swarata. What does swarata mean? Selfishness. People are friendly with each other for what they can get. Sara hi jaga jana. And the whole world knows this. We all know this. When people are nice to us. I'll prove this to you. When someone is nice to you, what is your first instinct? Suspicion, isn't it? When your child comes to you, Mom, you're the best. You're my favorite parent. Your instinct is, what did you do wrong? What do I have to tell your father right now? Even within a family, it's like that. The whole world knows this. Vina swarata adara kare. To respect, not suspect, but to respect another without this suspicion, without selfishness. Saha nara, such a person is chatura. That person is dexterous. That person is great. That person is sujana. That person is noble. That person is peaceful. Literal meaning is clear? Okay, let's open this up. Prince Arjuna, alpha personality, Shadi.com master. Known as Savyasachi, he has no weekend. Known as Gudakesha, no sleep. Dhananjaya, master of wealth, master of all. Comes into this Mahabharata war, picks up his bow, even though Bhagavan Krishna is right there. Put me between both armies. I want to see who I'm fighting against and fighting with. Bhagavan Krishna is right there. He doesn't need to pick up his bow. That's like me sitting with you and I pick up my mic. Okay, what's your question? Right, we're together. And Bhagavan Krishna says, behold, there's Acharya Bhishma, there's Acharya Drona, and then he smiles. Bhagavan Krishna is so fun. Like such sarcasm without overtly speaking sarcasm. Like, behold, there's your teachers. And Prince Arjuna goes from identified with dharma. And he comes down to identified with Kula, just the Pandavas. And then he falls more to being identified just with himself, Swarata. Which is why he wants to escape, isn't it? One who escapes is only thinking about themselves. Dharma, Kula, Swarata, Prince Arjuna. And what this secretly shows us, Prince Arjuna had a worldly confidence. He didn't have a divine confidence. And a worldly confidence will crack. If not today, tomorrow, or the next lifetime, but will crack. So I can talk to you all day about the pleasures in my life and the possessions in my life and the position in my life, but one day, that's going to crack. But a divine confidence is you talk about peace. Prince Arjuna didn't have peace. Dharma, Kula, Swarata, and in front of him is that smiling Bhagavan Krishna. And Bhagavan Krishna tells Prince Arjuna, you know what your problem is? Why you're confused? Why you're sad? Because you're living your life according to sakama. Sakama karma. You're acting from your own perspective. You are self-absorbed. This comes out in chapter 2. Chapter 1, the main word is fear. Chapter 2, why is there fear? Selfishness. What is the antidote to selfishness? What is the antidote to selfishness? Selflessness. Chapter 3, 4, 5. Chapter 3 is 10 magnification. Chapter 4 is 100 magnification. Chapter 5 is 1,000 magnification. And if you're living such a detailed, selfless life, chapter 6 comes, correct? you're ready to contemplate. But without selflessness, I'm not ready for contemplation. People love to study chapter 6 without studying chapter 1 through 5, isn't it? I know this. Let's just study chapter 6. From sakama to nishkama. Nishkama means selflessly. Nishkama karma leads to chitta shuddhi. My mind is balanced, my mind is focused, my mind is reflective. And if there's chitta shuddhi, what's coming next? Jnana becomes pramana. Jnana becomes authoritative. It's not information, now it's quietening me, making me inward looking. And the evolution of all of this is ahankara tyaga. When I go deep enough inside of myself, I renounce my ego. That's fundamental sannyasa, is not renouncing one's career or family, but renouncing one's ego. And whose path is this for? Every one of us. Prince Arjuna's career is to be a warrior, correct? He wanted to leave. Bhagavan said, Prince Arjuna has a wife. He has a child. He wanted to leave. He wanted to leave them too, correct? He wanted to go to the Himalayas, not to his wife and child. Bhagavan said, stay. Go from selfishness to selflessness to purity of mind to authoritative knowledge to letting go of your ego. Everyone's with me? Swarata. I'm focusing on this. Let's make this more relative. What does the word bhaja mean? Bhaja, like bhajan. What does it mean? Praise. Okay, when I say bhajan, what do you think of? Krishna Das. What do you think of? Ashwin and Lakshmi. Bhaja means to sing, but that's at the surface. The evolution of bhaja is to seek. The evolution of seeking is to serve. The evolution of serving is to worship. The evolution of worship is to love. And the evolution of love is to be. Whatever you're singing about, you should be. Understood that framework? Now applying that to how do we become aswarata? How do we become selfless? Singing, in a relative way, is to speak. Speak about selflessness. Speak as in be in satsang. Speak about Chinmaya Mission. Deeper than speaking is to seek, think about selflessness. Think, am I selfish? Am I living for other people? Think. The evolution of that is to volunteer. The word here is serve. I'm making this relative to volunteer. Making this very micro. I'm a neighbor of someone who goes to Chinmaya Mission. So I speak to them. Why do you go? What happens? So we speak about it. Deeper than that is, even when I'm not with them, I'm thinking about it. Maybe I should go to Sunday classes. At least there'll be lunch afterwards, right? Deeper than that is to volunteer, where you move chairs, you teach a class. But on Sunday, as soon as your volunteering is done, done. Volunteer. Deeper than that is to revolve, where your life or lifestyle revolves around Chinmaya Mission then. It's not just on Sunday. If there's more work to do, you stay for more work. You plan your vacation so you can be here for a certain yajna or a camp. You're revolving around that. Deeper than that is to love, but in a relative sense, you are Chinmaya Mission. There's that saying, I am CM. I am Chinmaya Mission then. It's not just your weekly time, how you raise your kids, what you spend your money on. So it went from speaking to thinking to volunteering to revolving to being that. How do we break out of being selfish? Through this process. Highlighting the idea of volunteering. Now, many high school students, you can't graduate without volunteer hours, correct? And if you get a lot, the president will give you a pin. I don't know if that's changed now, but at least a previous administration would send you a pin. But in our culture, you should be volunteering anyways. But you're not called a volunteer. You're revolving around your grandparents anyways. Your parents, the neighborhood, and so on and so forth. Isn't it that we tend to weaken our kids by constantly reminding them, do this, do this, do this. And then you just feel they're nagging, correct? But it goes both ways. We should start to live not from our perspective only, but from more perspectives, and volunteering helps that. Vina swarata adara kare. Here, respect means to live for. Not just to use respectful words, but to exemplify that. There's a great song by a band called Extreme. And that famous song is More Than Words. They're essentially singing, don't tell me you love me, show me that you love me. And if you show me you love me, you don't have to say you love me, isn't it? And the greatest respect is, before I think and act, I'm already identified with you. That person is chatura, dexterous. They can relate more. That person is sujana. That person is noble. In the next saki, I will open up this word nobility more. But here's what the wise would do. What would the wise do with the previous saki in regards to animals? Don't use animals. In this saki, don't use people. A selfish person will use you. A selfless person will not use you. Don't use people. Don't interact with people thinking about what you can get. That's called vanik buddhihi. When you go to Walmart, do you think about, what can I do for Walmart? Walmart is a store. You naturally should go there with vanik buddhi. How much money can I save? Not with people. To drop that idea of vanik buddhi. Before our meetings in Chinmaya Mission, what do? We chant a prayer, isn't it? And then business. Even in emails, people don't even say hello anymore. People don't say, how are you? What's happening in your life? Okay, what did you do? What do you want from me? At least connect with the person and then get into that business. And it's very practical. Bhagavan Rama tells Sugriva, you should praise in public and criticize in private. He tells Sugriva. Criticism hurts us a lot. And so a way to criticize someone without hurting them as much, praise, problem. Tell them they do this well, tell them they do this well, and then tell them what they can do better. See, that's not vanik buddhi. You actually want that person to be better, isn't it? Praise, problem. Is it practical? Some of the homes I go to, brothers and sisters fight. Usually the brothers are picking on the sisters. And their parents tell me. So then I tell that brother, the next time you say something mean to your sister, you have to say 2 nice things. That brother stops speaking to his sister. Because he doesn't want to say anything nice, so I'm not going to say anything mean also. It works. Praise, problem. Don't use people. And I'm going to share an auxiliary thought. If you feel you're taken for granted, you are being taken for granted. But if you don't feel you're taken for granted, you're not being taken for granted. How to overcome this vanak buddhi? Be so large-hearted that the word get is not even in your radar. Just give and give and give. Then you will never have this vanak buddhi. Like a parent with an infant. That infant does nothing. I know. And we just keep giving and giving and giving. And we hope for Vyasa's whole life we keep giving. We hope. But our unconditional love tends to become conditional once they can start to speak. Once they play with other kids. Isn't it? Vyasa keeps pulling another kid's hair. Whose son is that? Not mine. See how that condition comes in? Vanak buddhi. What can I get out of my kids? Some parents, they already like a child more because that child's going to look after them in the future. See that vanak buddhi? Don't tell me you don't do that. I know. Don't use people. And all of you, you are so fortunate to know all of this before more serious relationships are developed. My greatest attachment in life, and I'm only sharing this as a reference, is my parents. I'm less attached to my wife and I'm least attached to my son. Because I never had this training when I was born. So I naturally grew attached to my parents. I went to the ashram before I got married. So there was some training. I had my son 12 years after the ashram, or 11 years, so I had a lot of training. All of you are most fortunate. Some of you were born into this knowledge, isn't it? You will be free. Free to give. Next, Saki. What is the greatest challenge of life? Greatest challenge of life. Listening to you. Greatest challenge of life is living with people. That's why your fourth L is living, correct? Being with people. When you think of your schools, is school hard or is the people at school hard? When you think about work, is work hard or the people you work with? There's a wonderful movie that's out. How many of you have seen the movie Wonder? Okay, you should. The whole center should watch it. Good, clean movie. And how difficult it is to be in elementary school if you look different. How this young boy who looks different is bullied so intensely. It is, and he's so smart. But school is hard not because of the academics, but because of the people at school. Sheila said she cried 10 times in that movie. It's most moving. Please watch this movie. It's wonder, right? Not wander. It is wonder. Our next Saki. I think this is my favorite one. Out of the 16 we will study, this is my favorite. Sona sajjana sadhu jana tuti jurai saubar durajana kumbha kumara ke ekai dhakka dharar. Anyone? Saki? Slowly. Sona sajjana sadhu jana tuti jurai saubar durajana kumbha kumara ke ekai dhakka dharar. Sona? Gold. That's our favorite, isn't it? We love gold. You've heard me say this so many times, but I must say it again because the Olympics are on. I saw an image with Michael Phelps and all of his gold medals. So many gold medals. And then there was a photograph of Indians at weddings, and it said, "We have more gold." Sona Sajjana Sadhu Jana. Sajjana, noble people. Sadhu Jana, wise people, are like gold. Tuti Jurai Sau Bar. They can break 100 times and 100 times be united. I can break a bangle and all I have to do is melt it and reshape it, correct? 100 times. Durajana, people who are wicked, people who are ignoble. Kumbha Kumarake, they are like the clay pot of the pot maker. They're not like gold, they're like a clay pot. Eke Dhakka, they're pushed once, and Darar, broken forever. Beautiful, no? How he thinks about gold and clay pots. A wicked person, you push them once, they're gone. We'll open this up. If you drive 300,000 miles a year, what is your insurance rate going to be like? Who knows? But if you drive 300 miles a year, you'll hardly pay insurance. You're not even a part-time driver. Because the more you drive, the more chances are that you will bump into someone. We have to live with people, isn't it? And the more you grow up, the more responsibilities you have, the more people you interact with. This is called the churning of the Milky Ocean. Where is this Milky Ocean? In space? In Thailand? Because if you go to the Bangkok airport, there's a huge mural of the churning of the Milky Ocean. That Milky Ocean is us. And that churning is, you can say mananam, me thinking about me, or me working and living with you. Churning, isn't it? My idea, your opinion, my opinion, I want to eat this, you want to eat this. Like a family deciding what vacation to go on. Churning. That's happening. What career you want to go to. You have your opinion, your sister has another opinion, your parents have another opinion, your grandparents have another opinion. Churning. And in the churning of the Milky Ocean, what came out first? Poison. Halahala. The most dangerous substance known to the world. That dangerous substance is negativity. Not forgiving someone, judging someone, separating us. Don't think of poison to be external, that poison within. Like jealousy. If you're jealous of someone, can you ever look at them in the eye? Can you even hear their name? And where is that poison? In here. And it keeps fermenting till it becomes toxic and my happiness dies. We should be sadhujana, sajjana. A simple word to describe all of this is Aryan. What does Aryan mean? Aryan. Anyone? Aryan. Ganges. What does a Ganges mean? It's Ganga. Aryan means the noble ones. And an indicator of nobility is inclusivity. But if you misinterpret this, Aryan, the noble one, means exclusivity. How Adolf Hitler never understood what Aryan meant, no? And how he excluded all sorts of people other than his own people. That's not what an Aryan is. An Aryan is one who is inclusive. All of us can work on being Aryans because Prince Arjuna is known as an Aryan. Bhagavan Krishna says, you're being un-Aryan right now. You're acting exclusive because who are you thinking about? You. And not about your family, not about your responsibility. to be inclusive. And a small example of this, yesterday when we were playing freeze tag, how did we make teams? Fast runners against slow runners. Did we have team captains? I want my friend on my team. You want your friend on your team. What happens at the end when you have captains? There's always a few people who feel really left out, isn't it? That's not an inclusive way to make teams at all. We should do it based on shirt color, not skin color. On the month you were born, did you choose the month you were born? That's being more inclusive. When you see someone here who's new, go and sit with them. If you've been to this ashram so many times, sit with someone and tell them this is where you keep your shoes. Not judge them. Hey, how come you're walking there with your shoes on? See these small sentiments of being inclusive versus exclusive. In one of our Chinmaya Mission centers, we have a strong group of high school students, mostly girls. And those girls do not open up to those boys. And so recently we had another student come in, and here they're studying Advaita Vedanta. There's only oneness, but to put that into practice, to live that, even in a controlled setting, is difficult. So occasionally I have to meet them. I have to yell at them. Hey, this person is new. Be inclusive of this person. That's your sadhana. Here's what the wise would do. Don't use negativity. Don't use negativity. If someone makes a mistake, don't use negativity means don't focus on that mistake. Because if you do, that relationship is broken like that clay pot. But if you don't focus on the negativity, which means you do focus on the positivity, you've turned that clay into gold. Yeah, we fell apart. We will come back. Swami Tejamayana has shared many times, a simple way for arguments to end is to say, I am sorry. Even if you're right, still by being large-hearted enough, suhrid, to say I am sorry. You're right, but you're saying I am sorry because more important than that micro incident is that relationship, is your peace of mind. I am sorry. We tend to say I am sorry only when we're wrong. Clay, to say I'm sorry even when I'm right, it's because my mind is golden. I'll give you another example of this. When you're driving in the left lane, and your speed limit here is, let's say, 65 miles, so you're doing 72 miles an hour, 10% above the speed limit. And someone comes from behind you, and they never gave you time to get out of the lane. They just started honking and flashing. What should you do? First, we'll go to what we do. You slowly go from 72 to 68 to 62 to 50. You slowly slow down to make them more irate. Correct? Then they say, okay, I'm going to move out of this lane. They go in front of you. Then you go back to 62, 72, 80. Now you're the same person honking and flashing them. What is the solution? I am sorry, get out of the lane. Let them go. Why give up your most valuable asset, which is peace of mind, to someone you don't know, someone you're never going to see ever in your life again, especially in the Bay Area? Right? If it's a small city, maybe, but in a big city, you can't even see that person. I am sorry. And don't disguise this as being passive-aggressive. This happens a lot with families. Passive-aggressive. Is something wrong? No. Right? Of course there's something wrong. It's by your tone, by the way you're looking. Passive-aggressive is inefficient. You have to give so much to get so little. Be arjavam, be saralata. Don't use negativity. And our last saki, this is the most powerful. We just studied my favorite, now we'll study the most powerful one. This is our valedictory speech. Listen, learn, love, live. Live with animals, live with humans. There will be churning with humans. There will be conflict with humans. Focus on the resolution, not the dissolution. Even humans that you feel that you are different from. Nari narakana janiye sabasantan ki khan jame harijana upajaye soiratana ki khan. Slowly. Nadi narakana janiye sabasantana ki khan jame harijana upaje soiratana ki khan. These are simple words. We will share the literal meaning, but then we have to pause and go deeper. You take this literally, this is not a nice chopai. Nari, woman. As soon as you hear that first word, okay, something controversial is going to be shared. Naraka. Naraka? Hell. Na janiye. Do not think of a woman as coming from hell or going to hell or being hellish. Don't react, okay? There's more. Everyone's faces are slowly turning red. Sabasantana ki khan. Because where do all saints come from? A mother. A woman. Sabasantana, not a particular santana, all saints. All saints have a mother. Jame harijana upaje. That mother who gives birth to a harijana, to a bhakta. Harijana we sometimes interpret as a low caste person. But harijana here means bhakta. He doesn't believe in castes. Soy ratana ki khan, we should know that mother, that woman as a mine of ratana, of jewels. She's the source of diamonds and platinum and whatever expensive stone will come from the earth. She's the mine of that. Here, Sri Kabir is referencing Nadi because through thousands of years of invasions and thousands of years of miseducation, brahmanas, corrupt brahmanas, and wicked invaders have fractured our religion and culture by making women inferior. Who did it? Correct. Please forgive me, I meant corrupt. Corrupt brahmanas and wicked invaders. And a great example of that is Europanayana. Who is that for? And girls. Isn't it fascinating that even in Chinmaya Mission in 2018, we still think this is just for males? It is not just for males. It is for males and females. Have made this separation of superiority and inferiority. This is why the word nadi is used, but you have to take this deeper to not just nadi, but to anyone you feel you are different than. Not just nadi, to someone of a different race, a different religion, a different need. I have a special need, you have a special need. a different state, a different country, a different ethnicity, caste, creed, gender, orientation, whatever it may be. Understood? Not anymore. Okay, let's take this high and come to a relative sense. This idea that you and I are different is called ahankaraha. Ahankaraha means ego. But I'm going to give you 5 S's to remember the ego by. The first is the sense of separation. The sense of separation in Sanskrit is known as avidya. Avidya. When I feel separated, next is I feel small. In Sanskrit, vasanas. Vasanas make Brahman small, correct? When I feel small, I feel sad. In Sanskrit, that's called ashana, or desire. Only a sad person has desires, correct? A happy person doesn't have desires. When I feel sad, I feel stuck. Stuck here means vrittis. The more ashana or desires you have, the more you have to think. Someone who has a lot of desires can't go to sleep at night because they keep thinking. And someone who has a lot of sense of being stuck, that person feels stress. Stress. And in Sanskrit, that is karma. They just keep doing and doing and doing because they keep thinking, because they keep desiring, because they feel small, and that's because they feel separate. Got those S's. What was the first S? Separation. Creates smallness. Creates sadness. Creates stuckness. Creates stress. Now all of you who I've talked to, this is causing you stress, that's causing you stress. Stress is the effect. The cause of all of that is separation. Sri Kabir here is sharing, let go of separation. If you've learned to love yourself and you're living that now, this separation is not real. And you and I, we do experience this. When you join a class for the first time, everyone in that class is an acquaintance, correct? And then a few months later, some of those acquaintances become friends. What changed? Your vision towards them changed. Their body didn't change, your vision towards them changed. So for us too, we know how to make someone far, we know how to make someone close. It is based on vision. And vision comes from knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the more of a visionary you are. Sri Kabir is saying, don't look with your eyes. Look with your intellect. Don't look with sight, look with vision. And at a more relative level, every one of us is needed for creation to go on. Every one of us has a role and a responsibility. If you think of this retreat, if you think of this room, someone had to turn the lights on, correct? Someone had to run those electrical cables from the road here. Someone had to run those cables from the road to the power generation station. Someone had to bring water or steam or however electricity is created over here to that station. Someone had to figure it out and think about electricity. Someone had to create that static and kinetic energy, you can call that Bhagwan, and on and on and on. All of us are needed. Black people and white people, and short people and tall people, and women and men, and mothers and fathers, all are needed. In this specific example, Sri Kabir is saying, I had a mother. His biological mother, his foster mother, If his biological mother was not there, this wouldn't be here. This whole experience would not be present, correct? Which is why in Sanatana Dharma we have a saying, a child can never be greater than their parents. Because all of that greatness, the cause of that is their parents. But parents, you have to feel the same with your parents. And if people are following this, all of that greatness is sourced from the original parent. With this knowledge, it helps us have clarity of, despite all of this conflict of rubbing against each other. Because I'm first going to try to love people I can see myself in, correct? And then it's harder with people I don't see myself in, but I have to try. With this knowledge, it becomes more and more natural. What would the wise do? So we're clear about this. What was it first today? First, what would the wise do? Don't use animals. Second, what would the wise do? Don't use humans. Third, what would the wise do? Don't use negativity. It's going to be there. Don't use it. When that poison came, they didn't put it in a jar and keep it. Don't use it. Here is, do use, I didn't say don't use, I said do use divinity. When you interact with someone, do use the weapon of divinity. And you know what that weapon is? Namaste. Namaha te. I see your skin. I see your weight. I see your income. I see your age. I see your upbringing. But I can feel that we are one. Do use divinity. Our son Vyasa, Sheila and I think lots about our sattvic dream would be for Vyasa to do Veda Vyasa's work. To do Veda Vyasa's work. And I share that because we try to invest in Vyasa, knowing that we need him as parents. He has a special role and responsibility in life, just like all of us, not just our son, all of us. And that helps us to be much more loving and giving with our son because of what we've learned, that we should invest in him not to be our son, but for Vyasa to do Veda Vyasa's work. Imagine we can treat each person like that, that you are Swami Chinmayananda. You are Swami Chinmayananda's mother. And on and on and on. With such a vision of divinity, all we can do is live lovingly. All of us. Sri Kabir often referred to himself as Mutiya. Mutiya was a name of a dog. He thought himself to be a dog of Bhagwan Rama. He would call himself Mutiya. Hey Mutiya, do what your master says. He was Bhagwan Rama's dog. I referenced animals, correct? He would often refer to himself as a patni, as a wife. This is an artist's impression of how he looks, and he's calling himself a wife. Whose wife? Bhagwan Rama's wife. And he would miss his husband. He would feel for his husband. As he was aging, what city is he living in right now? Varanasi. What city is he living in right now? San Jose. As he's living in Varanasi, why do people move to Varanasi? As they're aging, they feel that if they come to Varanasi, Bhagwan Shiva will say, Ram Nam Satya hai. So I lived totally recklessly my whole life, but I'm going to die in Kashi and go to Kailash. He hammered this idea of meaninglessness to encourage people to think he left Varanasi. And he went to this small city near Gorakhpur. And in the year 1518, he was dying, and his disciples were with him. What religions were his disciples? Many, but particularly Hindu and Muslim. And they were fighting with each other. Despite having such a guru, still fighting with each other. And he said enough. And he went into this small hut, kutia, and he lied down on the ground and put a sheet over him, by himself. And they were fighting outside. And after some time, they saw this light radiate from this hut. And they ran into that kutia. And when they lifted that cloth, there was a bed of flowers there. His body, which was always flowers, he now showed to his disciples. And what did his disciples do then? Go back to fighting. Half of those flowers were taken by the Hindus and burned, and half of those flowers were taken by the Muslims and buried. This retreat is for us to be sincere shishyas. How despite living with Sri Kabir, still not knowing how to love themselves or love others. And this whole retreat is, what would the wise do? What would Sri Kabir want for us? How would he want us to live? That's only possible if we listen to life, to how we're living. We learn that we can be more. Learn from a Sadguru. Love yourself. Train yourself to love yourself. And then practice. Gurudev says, knowing is not doing. Doing is doing. There's no point in knowing more if we're not going to do more. There's no point in buying more food if you're not eating the food you have. What would the wise do? The key word is not what would the wise know. What would the wise do? Do what the wise do. Oh.